Welcome to the Mucked Up My Self-Care podcast.
I'm Jill from New York.
And I'm Linda from Tasmania.
We are two moms from opposite sides of the world who are living, demonstrating, and helping moms across the world build their self-care asset bank.
Ready to dive in? Messy, interrupted, imperfect, and most of all mucked up. Let's get going.
Good morning, good evening.
Hello, we're here again.
Yeah.
Across the globe. At least we're both on a Monday.
Yes.
Our recording anyway. So, yeah, you're just at one end and I'm at the other. So,
And both still really exhausted on the same day.
Some things are universal.
Yeah.
So for anyone that's just tuning in for the first time, what we usually do when we start off is highs and lows, because we know there are two different sides to parenting and self-care and all the rest of it. And it's not just about preaching the positive, it's also about being real about the not so positive, shall we say, and finding out both sides of the story. So, Jill, do you want to kick us off?
Sure. Let's see. Highs and lows. Lows. A lot of stuff is happening like all at the same time. And I'm exhausted. I'm so tired of everything happening all at the same time. There's one catastrophe over here. There's another whirlwind over here. And there's just, they just keep colliding, it feels like. So, that's the low point. I don't know. The high for me was celebrating Father's Day over the weekends. This is the first time that I really pushed Bobby to have his own alone time all day, whatever he wanted. Like, just like I pushed for myself for Mother's Day for the last couple of years. I was like, you know what? Why am I the only one that gets to have alone time on my day? So we set him up with a gift card to go out to breakfast while we were at church. So we took care of the grocery shopping before we went to church, which is very unusual, but we got it all done. And then we went to lunch with his family. And after the fact, he didn't know what he wanted to do. He's like, I don't know. Stop asking me. I'm like, you know what? Fine. You don't want me to celebrate you anymore? I will go ahead and Declan and I will just do our own thing. If you want to be involved, be involved. If not, no big deal. We went outside and I came back in and he was sleeping. So I was like, this works. We're going out. So Declan and I had a fun time just doing our own thing and letting Bobby do what he wanted to do. And it worked out really well. We had a good day and he seemed very grateful for that time alone. So it was a nice way to celebrate. But what about some highs and lows for you, Linda?
A low. I have a terrible twos, so they call it. Yeah. Little miss is, and I don't want it to be a gender thing, but it feels like a bit of a gender thing. She's really hit a 2-year-old stage of no, like no. Amount of times I've heard no today. Like, you want to put your pants on? No. Loves to get undressed and dressed and undressed and dressed and undressed and stay undressed, which the boys do as well. But a lot of throwing things. So she threw my phone at my head tonight within a short range and it really hurt. And she's throwing things at her siblings when she's really tired and just can't control her emotions and body and all that sort of stuff. And just, she's just a bit of a whirlwind sometimes. Like, feels like it's one thing and then another thing and then pulling something else out. And she's just certainly hitting a stage of pushing a little bit and throwing lots and no. like lots of no, not just at me, but at her brothers as well. So we will get there. It's just testing a little bit of patience. And I think the high, I did make some rissoles with Quinn this afternoon, which were really tasty and amazing. And he did a lot of like we got little gloves out, and he put all the rissoles together in little patties and mixed up all the mince and cracked the eggs and grated zucchini, and they were really good, actually.
Yum.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I did at the same time, of the flip side of that, push myself probably too far in just doing a lot for everyone else today. And so really I think that let me down in the fact that I got to bedtime and just snapped because everyone was wanting me. Felt like the rubber band being stretched.
Yeah.
To a breaking point.
Yeah. It's what a challenge when we try so hard to do enough for everyone else and really we miss out on the opportunity to do something for ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we get to the end of the day, we're like, where the heck did today go? What did I do to make me like this state right now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And why does everyone need me right now at once when I feel like I've given so much?
Yeah.
And that sounds quite egotistical and selfish, but I feel like I give, and you still need more. And of course they do, because they're kids. Like, of course, like it's not going to be fair or balanced, or like sometimes they'll need more and other times they'll need less, and it's never black and white. But it just felt like, oh my gosh, I was trying to do bedtime with two little people, and then the big people needed me, and they know that bedtime is like, once I get interrupted with that bedtime, I've sort of got to start all over again, because people come out and then they want to be involved, and it's like, just can't pull me away from bedtime right now, because it takes long enough as it is, and then it takes even longer. And yeah. It's a fine balance. Yeah. What about you? Have you got to that point where you've just been give, and then, well, let yourself down in a way, because that's what we're talking about when self-care lets you down?
Yeah. Let's just say the chaos that is happening around me in my life right now. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's a challenge, especially when it's, so I guess to get more in depth about it, with my dad being so sick right now, there's a lot of places that I am being stretched to pay attention to. Like, I have to pay attention to him. Then I have to pay attention to my mom because she's going through something with her spouse. And, I have to care for her in that way, not just that this is my dad and I'm the one that needs attention. It's also her spouse, and it's also my sister's dad. And there's conflict there, and I have to be aware of that. And then it's my son's grandfather. And this is something new for us we don't know the future for him in that relationship. And I've never lost a grandparent when I was young. So I don't know how to do this part for my child, which is now like a totally different mental game for me. And then even like I even have to be there for my husband with this relationship on and how he's grown to be in a really good relationship with my dad. So there's just so many facets. I can't forget that I also have jobs that I work. I'm also a mom. I'm a wife. I have a home, and I have all these other things happening that are calling my attention as well. Not just like the attention that a human needs, not in my own immediate nuclear family. It's exhausting.
It's exhausting. It's so exhausting.
It's one thing for us, I think, to battle this physical exhaustion of moving so much to meet everyone's needs when we have the emotional and mental aspects on top of that because of how deeply we are invested in what we're doing for these other people in our lives. It's like the trifecta of exhaustion. I don't.
Yep.
It sets us up to almost be like there's just never going to be enough self-care for us to get past this until something breaks and finishes.
That's exactly what I was just thinking when you were talking and listening to what you were saying. There's no amount of self-care that can seem to
Just
counterbalance the needs of all of these people, and let alone you as well. And it's a bit like with the kids. Like I felt like I give, and I wasn't really getting any cooperation back. Or, but why am I expecting that? And what am I expecting from my self-care when I'm already completely depleted and like the rubber band being stretched and flicked across the room? It's like, is self-care going to let us down if we do place high expectations on ourselves, not only in the self-care aspect, but in how much we can actually do and what capacity we're stretched to as well. Like if we keep filling it to capacity and then being like, oh, well, why did I snap at bedtime tonight?
I wonder why.
Like I can laugh now, sort of, but of course I snapped at bedtime tonight is sort of the next stage of that validating process.
Yeah.
It's like instead of the blame, it's then the curiosity and the understanding of not why did I beating myself up about snapping at bedtime or that sort of stuff. And like, yeah, of course I snapped at bedtime.
Yeah.
And this is why. And this is what I can do differently next time. And this is the conversation I now have to go and have with my kids about like, yeah, I didn't do that so well. I messed up. Huh.
Yeah.
Sorry. Can you forgive me again?
Luckily, they are very forgiving creatures.
Oh, yeah.
I do have to say they hold a grudge. I don't know. Declan always comes back at me with "Mommy, remember when you did this?" And I'm like, "Dude, come on. We have to bring that up again. I said sorry." Yep.
Oh,
they remember.
Do. Little mirrors that teach us so much, don't they? Yeah. I mean, we've talked about this before about, self-care expectations and when self-care doesn't quite match what we need at the time. But can you think of any specific examples of when self-care has let you down?
Sorry. When self-care hasn't what?
Has let you down.
Oh, let me down. Oh my God. I'm trying to think of something that's not with an expectation. So it's something a little bit different, Let's see. I feel like it's always just either when self-care just doesn't work out the way that I wanted it to or hoped it would. It's usually just like maybe it wasn't enough. Yeah, like not even just and not always interrupted by another human. Sometimes it's interrupted by myself of like there's a shift in how I'm accepting the self-care time. Like sometimes it's just a thought that throws off your trajectory of how self-care is going, or maybe it starts raining when I'm outside and I didn't get it done fast enough, whatever I was doing. Like sometimes like the grounding that I like to do, or we're on a walk and I'm like, I didn't bring an umbrella and now I gotta walk in the rain. That's not very much self-care I wanted to have.
Yeah. But so much of that is out of your control, though.
It is. And
right?
like, is it that the things that are out of our control is what's letting us down when
Mm-hmm.
we aren't in control. That's when we are most let down, or we aren't getting what we expected to get. Oh, that's a good point.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And it's hard when, like for you at the moment, you probably need extra self-care because you've got so many different fires to put out,
Mm.
or that you're trying to put out at least. And so you need that self-care, and therefore I think the expectation is slightly higher when the need is higher as well.
Yeah.
And so then when you do finally get to it, or if you don't get to it, you do feel let down. You do feel like, I know for me, if I don't get to the self-care time, or if I don't get to, like tonight, I was late meeting up with you, and I felt like I actually let you down and let me down, because this is my hour a week where we record. Like, but again, a lot of that was out of my control because kids needed bedtime and other people needed to show me something, and then I finished off like I did the seagull of dinner plates in the kitchen because I was still hungry. Like, yeah, so that one was probably in my control, but yeah, there's lots of things where it was like, a lot of that wasn't necessarily bad things, but I still felt frustrated.
Sure.
Because it's
my
like, time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, oh, just 2 more minutes and I just need it to slow down a little bit. Like, just slow down time so I can get there, because I got 5 more things to do before I go. And the next thing you know, it's 10 minutes later and you're like, ah.
Yep. Yeah.
But you had said something, Linda, that I've been thinking about now, and it's, is it really always that self-care is letting us down, or is it how we get to our self-care that is letting us down? Because as I think about both of our situations right now and all that we are navigating, there's other people in our villages that are our support system, and a lot of times we rely on that in order to be able to do self-care. And does our letdown actually start before we even get to do the self-care? And are we putting blame to things that are still out of our control? So like, Linda, you had a support system helping you through a very intense couple of months, and then a pain point was solved, and then it just went away. There's still no, you haven't gotten even the time to do your own self-care from that pain point that was solved to bounce back from that. And you've kind of been let down that it's just, you haven't been given that grace after the fact for the help too. Everyone just saw you through that problem and that was it. So now where do you get to take care of yourself after getting that problem solved?
Yeah. And life still goes on. There's still dishes and mess and dinner and breakfast and putting people to bed and working through feelings and emotions and buying Father's Day presents and like, whoa.
Working on healing some trauma. Like, yeah.
Yep.
And then I look at, as I'm talking, realizing, the people that I would rely on to pitch in for me to be able to have some self-care are in no better shape than I am. They're needing me to step in so they can get their own self-care in too. Or, we're needing to pull in actually outside resources, friends from a different level to come in and help us out, because we're all so strapped when we're all so tied to these things going on.
I feel like that's also a big there's a big improvement that needs to be made in the way that community and villages are viewed, especially online, because it's a lot of this 50-50 sort of equal footing idea. underneath a lot of the messaging. And it's very rarely 50-50. It's often you'll be at a high pain point, high problem. You'll need all of these people to surround you, and they'll be at capacity to do so. And then slowly that will be worked through, ideally, without, if we could only pause life for a minute.
Yeah, because we all have to get back to our own things.
Yeah. And then, there may be somebody else with another need at another time where you surround them. But I rarely think it's all just give, take, 50-50 idea of community.
100%.
Yeah.
It's just like being in a relationship with one, like a significant other, where a lot of times we think going into it's going to be 50-50, but we're all going to have our days where it's going to be a different ratio. You might need to be picking up that 70%, and I've only got 30 to give, and
or 10.
I think you're right in community that there's going to be more drawn from others than we are able to give ourselves at times. And I think that's why community works when it is a really good grown community, because it's not all on one person then that taking on the majority of effort for one person. It's split between however many people are built into that village.
It's something that needs to be changed, I think, in the way that we talk about it, and that will be coming up in a further episode, I think. I mean, I could be reading it wrong. I could be reading it wrong as well, but I've seen it many times, and I think multiple people have too.
Yeah, and it's human nature. It's life. It's it's something I dealt with and tried to make people aware in the funeral industry. Is we told those coming to support their family, everybody leaves after 2 or 3 weeks of being attentive to this person who's lost someone. So make sure you're there for them then. Don't forget after that mark of where you start seeing people go back home and not really checking in, that's when you really start picking back up, because that's when they're going to need you most, is when all of that attention of care is starting to go back to what they have going on in their lives.
And grief doesn't necessarily have an end point.
No, and I think that's just applicable to all the hard things we do in our life, not just losing someone, but when we're in need of getting through something big or hard, that's why I feel so deeply about what you're experiencing after you've, gotten one fire put out. Now what? That was the big moment for everyone, and you still have other little fires to put out.
And big feelings of 4 kids.
Yeah.
That's, a tsunami sometimes. At the same time, tonight, they laughed and laughed and laughed. The 2 little ones were on the big kids. They were playing horsies in the lounge room. And I don't think I've heard Quinn laugh that hard for a very, very long time. It was very, very cute and sweet.
I'm so glad to hear that.
That's a good point to end on, I think.
Yeah. Well, we know what it's like to not have a strong village supporting you, or to even feel the loss of a little bit of the strength of a village after something has been accomplished. So if you are needing that support, come hang out with us. And we have the simple list of things to get done quick for some self-care when you are just in the hot mess of a situation and you need to take care of yourself a little bit. So email us. The link is in the show notes wherever you're listening or reading this. Reach out. We're happy to be a support for you and get you that list, or be your cheerleader in the background as you get through that fire.
Yeah, I know we have a bank of bank of episodes as well. We're coming up to 110 now. So it's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy conversations, much like this one. So we invite you to join us for many, many more mucking up self-care days.
Yes.
And when we let ourselves down and pick ourselves back up and carry on. Mm-hmm. So, Jill, until next week.
We hope you can unstuck your muck.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Bam, bam, can we do it again?